Hi guys, so thanks for logging in. And yes, I had some problems and I feel like Patreon seems to be like this, to have this, I don't know. It seems getting it seems to be getting a little bit complicated, I guess, with the streaming, but for now, unfortunately, this is the only thing that works for me because my computer is a little old and long story. But anyway, so hi again guys, and thanks for logging in and thanks for your support. And today is the night, this is the night where I answer your questions, regardless of what, it's basically, it's not about what I'm thinking about necessarily, it's about what you guys are interested in. So I was just looking at the questions after I posted, and a few of you had the question about young people, which I thought was very interesting. Okay, so since more than one of you have asked this question about the youth, then I think it's time to ask the question, okay? And let me know if you're hearing. I don't know. I can't tell if if you can hear everything, if everything is fine, if the video is everything is working. Anyway, so okay, great. So I thought this was an interesting question, and I don't think I'll tell you guys, but people say, oh, I'm not actually as young as from the sound of the comments, people think I'm a lot younger than I actually am. I won't tell you how old I am, but it's kind of interesting. Anyway, but yes, I totally agree that I feel like a lot of young people are engaged, okay? And the other thing that I noticed, I saw something online the other day, a couple days ago, that said that even the Republican kids, like people between 18 and 25, 81% of them want another candidate for the next election. And that's the people who are supposedly against, right, who are not progressive. So so that's very interesting. And a lot of people have mentioned that the young, like, that the next generation, let's say people who are in their teens, or like, let's say between, I don't know, 14 and 18, Generation Z they call, they are much more accepting of people of different gender. You know, they're not as natural, they're not as judgmental about a lot of things. So I think that's very interesting to see what's going to happen. And also something I noticed today also online, I didn't read the article, but there was some article about Stephen Mueller, how, like, can you imagine, he's the point of contact person for this whole thing, because he's literally like a Nazi, so he's against immigration. And I think what some of you, this relates to the question of youth. Why? Because most people of color, the large majority of people of color, are progressive. So they don't want that, not just because they're racist, but because that's the demographic that is going to go against things they believe in. Okay, so that's a double whammy for them. Okay, they want to remove them, us, whoever, right? Anybody who doesn't believe, it's almost like they create all these things so that they can try to maintain power. Because now I believe, guys, and this is becoming more and more clear, that in a natural election, with, let's say, an election without crime, right, without manipulation, they would not have won. And one person posted a comment on YouTube that said that he researched something related to the government shutdown, and the shutdown has never happened in a Democratic government. It's all a Republican thing. Is that interesting? I thought that was, like, so interesting. Okay, so let's ask about the youth figures. What was the figures? Yeah, I know. I'm going to read here what Christy is saying. So, okay, so let's think here. I'm just going to go back to the tab just so I understand exactly. So this is, one question that I had, guys, and another person asked about Trump's base, and I think this is all very connected. These two questions about youth and the question about Trump's base, because one thing that I think we are all wondering is if, I think, the division is manufactured. right? To an extent, in the sense that we have Fox News, we have probably the most powerful moment. I don't remember ever seeing the U.S. having this amount of these people having as much power as they've had now in terms of like public communication. So my question about this is will in the future, will the landscape, I'm trying to, if you guys think of a way to phrase it, it's basically, how to say it, will the division in the U.S. continue? Because I think this is the question. The thing about Trump's base, I have said before in a different video that I don't believe it's as large as they say. It's not. I don't think it's like 35%. But then I live in New York, okay? And Wendy, who lives in California, was saying that actually she lives around a lot of people who are Trump supporters. So because I don't think I've ever really met a Trump supporter, or I don't know of anyone around here or near me. So I don't know. I feel like they're just kind of like in a way, I don't think they're an abstraction. You could see that there's the evangelicals and there's a lot of like the outright people, the not hardcore Nazis. Their pockets, just Christy saying. So, so the question is, okay, now I think I have the question. Will young people today be able to create in the future government system, or to be able to elect people who represent their interests, right? Because I think this is the core of the question. Will young people today create a future that is progressive? I think who can say that, use that word. I don't say liberal because they are kind of trash the word liberal, but I think, will the young people today, the majority of young people today, work together to create a future that benefits everyone? Or is it is it something, have we lost this? Or is this will young people create in the future a better government? Okay, because this is the question. I think it's like, and I feel like we are at a point with these readings where I feel more comfortable asking these very complicated questions, right? Because to me, it's like, you'd be so scary if it said, oh no, now it's over, like it's too late. You know what I mean? Because for example, and I feel like I'm talking too much here, guys. I'm gonna start shuffling. But just to give you something that is a little bit related, and I think, and it's not necessarily about politics. Okay, exactly. Now they all become still. No, I don't think so. So basically, there were over the weekend, I think, or Friday or something like that. This person who's a very well-known venture capitalist published an essay that got a lot of controversy, and he said that American companies should be like Chinese companies, and he gave the example of people who work 6 days a week, who have beds in their offices. And he said that American companies should emulate that. Okay, he said, well, over here, the managers of companies, they work during the weekend. They basically never see their children. Their grandmothers raise their children, or they have nannies. And that's that was like, you guys, this is what you're competing against. So you have to work harder. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm doing something a little, like, I have a lot of ideas especially about the reality for women and so forth. Okay, so I just feel like it's so sad. It would be so sad if young people, and even people like me, I'm not super young, okay? So even like people who is it impossible to change? Is it impossible to really create a world that's a little bit more equitable? Okay, that's just a simple question. Okay, because it's not whether, how do you say it? Because I don't think anybody wants a world like that necessarily. Okay, so where it's like, well, if you want to achieve something or you want to create a company, you have to like treat children like a dog or something, or like an inanimate object. That's terrible. Oh, see, Julie, I don't know if you come from a Chinese family, but she's saying the Chinese don't like having to be like that. And right, it's like this person who wrote the article is a billionaire, okay? So I'm sure it's not like he is living a life like that, but he's like telling people to live like that while I'm sure he doesn't live like that. Okay. So it's like, it's sad because, you know, in a way, if you come from a world, like I come from Brazil, right? Like I grew up there, and there, it's easy to, you can easily have a maid because there's so many poor people. Okay. It's not like, and then you can have a career or whatever, but it's like, I don't know. It's like, it's very sad. Okay. If we can't change, but I believe we can. This is the thing. And the question is, so in the context of all, I feel like I went off several tangents, but basically what I wanted to say is I see a future where we can create a world that is not as like hippie, positive, whatever, like that necessarily all the time, but that people are committed to doing things that fit their values, okay? Or that we think of people more and less about like exactly the situation of the Republicans, where they're like, oh, let's cut the meals of senior citizens, or let's cut Social Security so that we can get 2% less taxes for people who make $2 million a year. You know what I mean? That's wrong. That just doesn't seem right. Okay. So, okay. So let's see here. Okay. Tell us about the young people. Will the young people of today be able to create a world in the near future that, let's ask first about kids in this country, because we're really under the Trump administration. Let's be specific. So will American kids be able to create a political system or political world that benefits them as opposed to the way that is being done right now, where it's all about creating this underclass? Like, will the young people be able to live in a world where it's a little bit more about what's best for most as opposed to what's best for a handful? Will they be able to create that, or is it too late? Okay. So what will the future look like for kids today, for the kids in terms of the political system and representation? What will these kids create? What will the world look like? Is it too late? So the kids today. Okay, guys, so I stopped shuffling, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to separate the reading into 4 little parts. So the first will be what is the situation right now? And then part 2 is what is under their control. Part 3, what is not under their control. And part C, what's the outcome in, say, 10 years? Like, oh no, let's say what's the outcome? Just not a time. Because I think what is interesting, because it's part of the question, like part of the question that I have, and I think you all have too, is that I feel like, I wonder if it's too late. Is it too late? You know, because so that's the part where what's outside of the control comes in. Okay, so that's why I think it's important to ask this question. Okay. So what's going on right now? It explains like what's the situation. So this is interesting because this is the first. Oh, let's see, it's right again. This is the card of getting away from poverty. Okay, so I think in a way, This could also mean in the context of this government, somebody once mentioned this, and I believe they're right. It could also mean that it's the government is trying to make people poor, okay? And this is key. Okay, so this is, so this is key. It could all, I think if you have the key card here, which means solution, I think the sense is moving away from poverty. So the key is trying to create ways to avoid poverty, okay? And the card of hope right below it. And the fox. And the fox here is obviously like behind shady things behind the scenes, okay? And I think what happens is that I think if you look at it even just visually, we could see that the fox people, we know who they are, right? The current government are covering the hope part. I feel like it's basically saying that even though hope exists, it's being almost like a dark cloud, okay? And this is a card of energy, basically. It could be a person, but I think this is just more of like the action and energy and obstacle. Okay, and I said yesterday that this card also represents obstruction of justice. So I feel like there's an action, like there's action. It's either saying that there's an action to obstruct, or that there's energy anyway, and we have this thing ahead of us. And this is a card. It's not negative. It's like a kind of a charlatan. No, this card is also card a little bit of like a bad messages or negative news, but I think it's also, it reminds me of these charlatan men who are on these like dating websites and they promise women marriage and then they find out they already have like 5 wives. That kind of like, con artist of the heart. So this is a growth. Okay, so what I think, putting everything together here, it's saying that the moment, I mean, I feel like it's kind of harsh but realistic. Like obstruction to growth. So we're living a moment that even though we have, like, there's an obstruction to growth created by, I feel like a energetic application of bullshit. And the key here, is that there's this whole, like, I feel like this whole effort, it looks like, to obstruct. Okay, so the key here is this obstruction and the fox people, and this is growth, what we really want, okay, in health, in life. So it's just explaining that I think they are literally trying to like make life harder. Obviously, they're creating shadiness that obstructs hope and that creates long-term difficulties for growth. And if you think about a young people, right, it's like youth in a way is about growth. So in life. So that's the situation right now, okay? I think it's kind of harsh, but it describes well, okay? All right. So then, okay, next is what is under the young people's control? What is under their control? So here we have, it's interesting. So this is what is under the young people's control. So this is a card of something that is going to come out, okay? Hasn't yet come out, facts that are not yet known. And this is traditionally the Russia card. Oh, see, I like making it, getting it close, but. So yeah, so this is traditionally the Russia card. Things that are not known. Things that are not yet known. And I wonder if there's a different meaning. I know, I'll tell you something I think that it could mean also. This is the Hierophant, which is the card of the Illuminati or people behind the scenes who are powerful. and the dog. So there are good people behind the scenes who are protective or good people in general, okay? And this is a new beginning, fresh start to the government, new beginning to the government. And this is Empress upside down. So I feel like this could also mean issues related to women. It could also mean, I think it also means the country when abundance is on the down, like when people feel like abundance is not there as much, quite as much, but we have the heart card, which is good values. Now, one thing that occurred to me that I'm looking at it now, and I don't think this is Russia anymore. This is, I have to remember, this is not a reading about Russia. This is a reading about the young people in this country. Okay, so what I think now, and again, like guys, obviously I have probably some degree of quote unquote bias because of how I see things, but this is, I think the lady could also mean women, okay? Because you have another card. The High Priestess is also a card that's related to feminine intuition. Okay, so like, for example, I feel like I am the High Priestess, okay? Because it's like a person who knows the mysteries of life and has secrets or sees beyond what is seen, those kinds of things. And I think this is women. And you also have, it's interesting, actually, I haven't thought about it. A combination of these two tarot cards is very interesting because it's the Pope and the Priestess together. So it gives a kind of almost like a metaphysical force to this, okay? And you have what I feel like there's both the force of women in the sense of like, of a mystery and what's the word? Spirituality, okay? Which I think is like exactly what I'm doing now. But like, and also you have behind the scenes women probably, and people who are good, who are loyal. So I think this is like it's under the control of young people, what they will do, what they can do, okay? And they create, and with this, then going back here, they create a new start because you have the Fool upside down. And a new start that's based on values, because I see the heart card a lot as the values. Or like the heart card has to do with simple things that make you happy too, like the simplicity of happiness. But I think it has to do with who you are in terms of values, like who are you inside, essentially, okay? So putting these two together, we see exactly, I feel like this already answers the question in a way, which is that like feminine qualities related to spirituality and women in general are going to create a new beginning in the government, as well as having the support of good people behind the scenes and people who are protective and care like about the world and others in general, and share these values and have these values first, put these values first. Okay, so that would be what's under control of the young people. Let's see what's outside of their control, because that's what scares me. Basically, because the question, like the underlying, the underlying fear here about this question. Oh, hi, Dan said, we're like, that's nice. That's awesome. But basically, what the underlying fear that I have in asking the question about what's outside of control is the question like, is it too late? Is it too difficult? Is it impossible? Okay. So, okay. So you have the Justice card. And I think also in the context of women, I think justice means that we finally get our turn, right? I think whenever we see this, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a legal issue, but that it's like about what's fair. And justice, I think also in the sense of like social justice, or like what Martin Luther King, was talking about, I think, in some ways. All right, so there's a cloudiness. So I feel like I hope that we can overcome this. Okay, so there's like it's almost like it's also like in a way, if you look at it in terms of maybe the clouds are hiding the power, like the fairness or like the karma, the good karma that was going to come, and that there's a lot of fighting, aggression to overturn, because this is a card that came up in sort of like towards the middle of those readings I was doing. If you look at it, it's the card of a person looking at the world and like making plans about the world, okay? And like this is the world upside down, which I think is what we're living, right? Right now, we are experiencing the government that wants to create exactly what this card is displaying, okay? Basically, this government wants to turn things upside down, and we have the fight. Here's the fight: fighting, aggression, discussion. Okay. So that's that, and then we have temperance, which means balance. I think that's what we all want, right? Especially as we live through this government, we want finally to be able to sleep at night. Okay. And this is a permanence. So we want stability and balance. Okay. So and this is let's see here, Ace of Wands upside down. So there's a downturn of energy, or like a spark of something that still exists, and this is corruption, either corruption or stress. Okay. So what, and I feel like, guys, this reading to me is a little bit like taking a cold shower. Okay. It's like telling you like it is kind of thing. I wish it was a little bit, I mean, it's not bad because it's saying that everything is right with the young people, but that it's like that expression, the struggle is real. Like literally the struggle is real because it's not easy. But then like sometimes when I feel like that, I'm like, oh my God, it's like, oh, am I crazy? Then I think about the civil rights movement. Like there was nothing about the civil rights movement. Oh, I'm sorry. There was nothing about the civil rights movement that was easy, you know? They were like, oh, let's go hang out in Selma, guys, whatever. They like really want us to be here, you know. It wasn't like that. So anyway, okay. So that's a good way to see it. Now let's see side by side here. It's like if I look at this literally, it's like a fight or a struggle to see justice at last. Okay, it's struggle to see justice because justice is being covered up by the clouds. Okay. And then it could also be stressful to achieve permanence, difficult to achieve stability, difficult to achieve peace of mind. So basically the world, at least what we see today, is not interested in like what the young people want. Okay. Here we see the clouds, like they're hiding, like basically lack of clarity about stability on the top row or the bottom row. Aggressive loss or aggressive stress. Stress is aggressive. Aggressive mice, right? The rats. I mean, I think it's like, it kind of reflects the world, like how things are now with Trump, right? It's like these rats are aggressive and the aggression exists to hide justice. Okay. And like the hiding of, or the obstruction in a way of the illusioning of this, of like stability and balance. Okay. Now, okay, so I'm trying to think. I want to ask another question, like, okay, so what is the outcome, or how can young people achieve? Okay, so let's see the outcome. Let's see what it says. It's interesting, and I feel like it goes back. I think now it does talk about Trump. Okay, so this is a card of abundance and having money, basically, like a rich woman. Upside down, probably not as rich or having some money issues, and news. So there's some difficult news ahead, maybe. And then it has to do with Trump, okay, because here is two cards that relate to Trump. The King of Cups upside down, the crazy man with tantrums, emotional tantrums, and the snake. So Trump is a snake. We know that. That's not news. It's saying, okay, so news about the snake. What are the news? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, so these are, they're trying to hold on to, it's funny because it's very little, right? So they're trying to hold on to something. This is a card of a person who doesn't take risks and is trying to hold on to something, and it's about holding on to what they own, and they're guilty, okay? They're guilty of that. News of guilt, if you see side by side. And what else? Negative, like a hard time making decisions. Okay, and what happens, it's like a moment of transition, right? Because there's like all these things happening, hard time making decisions. Why? Because there's a death to the stake. Everybody's happy, right? It's like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna have to wear black for a year. So sad. I'm mourning. Yeah, because it's interesting because I feel like, okay, so this is like news about the snake, right? And the snake is the figure of Trump, the King of Cups upside down. And this news is, what does the news say? Because the writer is not just a message or news, it's also something coming into your life. So what it's saying here is that news of guilt are coming, and the guilt leads to an ending, and an ending to the snake. So I asked, what's the outcome? Even though when I was talking to you guys about what I wanted to discuss in the reading, and I thought maybe ask 5 years, but then I was like, oh no, let's see what it says, and that's how I left it. What's the outcome? And here it's saying really, guilt leads to an ending because of guilt. Okay, so I think really what it's saying is that even though we are dealing, especially young people are dealing with a lot of opposition, once we're going to have news about the snake, and news of the guilt, about guilt, leads to a death. And if we look at the card death, I mean coffin, right? It connects to both guilt and snake. So it's the end of the snake and an ending through guilt. So this is interesting, right? Because it's really not what I was expecting. And I think what it means in the context of how the reading, the part especially about like the young kids and what's under their control, I think what it's saying is that this is going to happen, an ending to the snake, an ending to Trump, and then the world can be built like this, okay? Like the way that the cards are saying that this is what is under the control of the kids. Because the other part, when I asked what's outside of your control, also means external factors. So the external factors are negative, are very difficult. But ultimately, there's an ending to the snake, and that should pave the way, okay, to the kids. Now, let me just pull out more cards because I'm curious. So this is the outcome. So what happens after this outcome of this ending? What's next after that? Oh, wow, it's interesting. Then you have this side, it's like repeating what it just said about Trump. It's like ending to Russia stuff, ending to the older man. Kind of interesting. Oh my God. Wow. Yes, Julie says very well. It will be a political education when all comes out. I'll show you the cards because it's almost like saying the same thing. So it's like moving away to better. This is a card of a person moving away to something better. It's sort of like, it's related to positive changes, but it's also like moving away from a turbulence kind of. And this is a foreign power, something foreign, action. And what do we have here? Oh my God, so sad, the Tower. Everything falls apart. And on top of it, we have the Scythe. So this is beautiful, right? For us, it means that things do fall apart for anybody related to the foreign power. And there's a cut, an ending, like an abrupt ending. Because one thing about the Scythe also means, for example, it can mean that you should, it doesn't necessarily mean an ending. It means, for example, you should cut distractions from your life. It means many things, but it means cuts in general, okay? But these two together are like kind of have the same effect. When things fall apart and you cut them, it's kind of like you cut and things fall apart. So that's pretty undeniable here, okay? And this is a card of division and factions and a man, okay? So foreign man, that could be Jared, who knows? And this is interesting. This is a card of something quickly, happening very quickly, and dotard. Oh, Jared, oh my God, Jared. I think I'm gonna go protest because Jared is the nicest guy. You know, they're just like, so unfair. Okay, so, oh my God. So guys, interesting. So I'll just put this together because it's just saying again, so this is like an ending, right? An ending to something related to the foreign power. Things fall apart. Like we move from this moment of turbulence, things fall apart, there's a cut. And this is a man related to the foreign power and dotard. So dotard, what gets cut? Dotard and the ship. Okay. So, and I wonder, and I think this is like, this could be Jared, this could be, and I'm like, could this be Mueller? Because, no, but Mueller he's not cutting, so I don't think it's him. It's just somebody related to dotard. Yeah. So basically, yeah, so that's it. I mean, I feel like this is because I asked the ending. So what's after the ending? It's like, again, saying the same thing. We get the news of a cut. News of guilt leads to an ending. And then there's a removal of the foreign power, like of the foreign, what's the word? The foreign influence and dotard. So it's saying the same thing twice, okay? Because when I pulled out these cards, I thought, okay, I want to know what's coming next, in the sense of like, I in my mind, I thought, oh, it's going to be an ending and then we have to rebuild or something like, that's what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting the cards to say the same thing. Okay, so it's kind of, I feel like this is interesting because it's telling us that this end is pretty much inevitable because it's saying the same thing twice. Okay, so that's what paves the way. And I'm going to, I feel like, okay, what is the key here? What is important to achieve this better outcome? What creates this other? The other. Oh, this is nice, guys. So finally, I feel like I have a conclusion, because I hate, like, leaving these like readings with like this bad, I don't know, just kind of like, not bad. We know that already, it's going to happen, but I feel like sometimes I love asking the question about advice. Like, what's the best way to create this? What can we do to create this? That's what I thought. Okay, so then I pull out the cards, and so create this, meaning what the young kids want, right? Like this new world where women have power and good people care about creating a world that reflects the needs of most. Okay. Yes, equality. Well, not just equality, but compassion, I think, in a way, right? In the sense of like, that is not just this like a kind of a mathematical thing, but it's like, let's think of others. Let's think of just basically caring about, just caring. Okay, caring about people. Okay, so this is a card of money, public money. Okay, and then this is a card of disharmony, relationships going wrong, and the sun. So looking into negative relationships or negative people in a way. And this is like a public happiness, or like it's both looking into something, but it's also like the public is happy. You could look at society is happy. Society looks into disharmony. Okay. And this is a card of abuse of power in the elections. And I think here I'll put together, I'll show you the other card. It ends, it's a beautiful ending here. The world upright. This is a card of completion of, well, it's a really great card. It's the last card of tarot. And it's like achieving the highest level. And this is the bouquet, which is kind of it's not the same. It doesn't have the same sort of like timeline or the same kind of connotation that it has in tarot, but it's sort of, it's a card of a gift, abundance, happiness in that way, good outcome. And that's the last card. So that's very good. So I'm trying to reach for more clips. And then here, putting these together, we have elections, elections that create a better world. Elections will create a better gifts or like positive outcomes for everybody, for a good world. Okay, because it's interesting that another card that represents Trump came here, the card of abuse of power. And I think what it's saying is essentially, because we have this person who abused power, who was elected, the next elections are going to elect people who care about making the world a better place. And the card of the bouquet also relates to beauty. So in a way, if you think of beauty in the higher sense, right? Beauty is about harmony. So then we create a world that's a bit more harmonious, okay? And then putting these together, it works very well. Yes, prevent. Diane is saying, and this prevents corruption in future elections. Exactly. So this is a card of society and the public and public gatherings. So the public elects, the public looks into people. This harmony, and I think also means the public is going to be more careful about people who are disharmonious, right? Who are creating chaos, kind of like Trump. And then it's like also clarity and happiness leads to beauty. Like this is a very nice combination, the sun and the bouquet, because it's like a success and clarity, and then happiness, like kind of like harmony, success and harmony. So basically, public elections lead to clarity and harmony in the world. Okay, so, and I think, guys, one thing that is interesting, that just to show you here that I just thought, how like some of you have asked, and I don't think necessarily today is the right moment unless you want to know about it, but I think this could mean election finance, because this is public money next to elections. So I feel like in some ways, I wonder if there will be some sort of reform in election laws, okay? Because you see here money related to the public. Yeah, Diane said I had said that Kamala Harris would take that platform. And yes, I believe so. Maybe because I feel like if you think about it, and maybe I have to look into this further. Actually, maybe there should be a day just for this, like the legal stuff, because I don't know enough to ask about Citizens United, if that can be overturned, because the core of this is these like lack of transparency in the electoral financing thing. Okay, so that has to be overturned somehow. Okay, but it's good that like the public money, the public is aware of the money that we have. Like the money is out, like the tax money is out. It's supposed to benefit the people who pay taxes, not the ones who don't. Okay, So that's that. So the message here, oh my God, I feel like this was a very long, kind of like, not just a long reading, but it was a long way. Okay. So, oh my God, Diane is saying that the president of Citizens United is now a Fox News contributor. Well, it's almost like it never ends. When you think like you were like, oh, I kind of got it. I got the, the gist of things or whatever. Then it gets worse, right? It's like you're always shocked. It is not shocking, but it is always shocking in some way. Okay. So yes, we arrive at like a situation that's very, just now going to a summary here, from a situation that's dire, basically current situation. We have like people putting obstacles for growth and people doing shady behind the door dealings. We have young people who want or who will create a world where women are, female power is in leadership, and we create a new government, and there will be people who we can trust, who have the right values in mind. Okay. And then we are encountering a moment where there's a lot of resistance to the world of good, right? So it's like they are aggressive, they're corrupt, they create smoke and mirrors. But ultimately, the cards are saying twice that there'll come news of guilt of the snake, which is the president. And then the second part of the reading says the same thing. There will be an ending to the foreign influence, and then an ending to a younger man and dotard, probably Jared and Trump. And then ultimately, what we can do, or how to think about it, is that public money will be employed in elections, and the public will see we'll look at who is creating, who really wants transparency, who has our best interest in mind, basically. And this will lead to a world that's more harmonious, that's better. Okay, so that ends the part of the reading about the values of young people, what young people want, what comes next, and what we will encounter, and how this will resolve itself. That was kind of like, woo, like this, something like that. Okay. All right, guys. So let's see here what's next. What is another theme? Oh, you know what? I think Donna asked the question. I'll read it for you guys. General question: what drives the Trump followers, and how do they not see through the lies, rhetoric, and hypocrisy? No doubt they are wondering the same about those of us that are not followers. So, okay. So I think I asked the other day very briefly how they would react if Trump was removed. Okay, and it said aggressive. And so Donna's question is about Trump's base. Okay. And so I think I think this is a very important question that I don't think the other answer the other day really addressed. So I think we should ask this in a few parts. One of them, it has to do with Fox News too, I think, because part of it is like how, if we think about it, how can we, I don't want to, convert is the wrong word, but I think, how could these people see the truth, right? Because that's all they need. Like if they look at what the reality is, if they had access to the reality or knew what is really happening, then they would probably not, right? They would not feel that way. One, and two, I feel like I still have this nagging belief that the Trump voter is is not as big as they're saying it is. Okay. All right. So the question is third of the population. Yes. But I feel like the question is what is preventing truth and reality to reach the voter is this network of the Russian network of like propaganda, which is Fox News, and all of these people, okay, and the bots and technology. Like there's a conjunction of people that are working together to continue the, almost like creating, you know, like I think of cartoons, like there's a world and there's an illusion that they put in front of it. So they work really hard to make sure this illusion is a reality, okay? Sort of like Plato's cave, right? That the people are in this cave and they think that their shadows are reality. And when they go out there, they realize it was all fake. So basically now the question is, who are, you know what I think, like, who are Trump supporters real, like in the sense of like, exactly, no. So Diane is talking about the bots and everything. So I'm trying to think here. Who are the Trump supporters? Like the real, like just it's like that's the question. I think who are they? Are the Trump supporters really as large as we are told they are? Like why are they treating them with like a lot? You know, why should we care about this minority that's destroying in a way, allowing the country to be destroyed? A, and then B, the network of people who create the basically the right-wing propaganda media, pretty much, and from Fox to Russia to Trump's people or whatever, will they be dismantled? Because I think what stands between the truth and the like progress, and I don't mean progress in the political sense necessarily, I mean like people looking at reality for what it is, okay? Is this network, okay? Oh my God. So basically what I'm thinking here is, it's like two questions. It's like, so the question about Trump's base is A, who are they? B, will this network that creates this world for the Trump base be dismantled in the near future as a result of the Trump, the Mueller investigation? And then C, will these people, this is the question that I have, will the people who are the Trump's base, quote unquote, ever really join, ever see the light? Will these people ever see the light? That's my question, okay? Will they understand? Will they ever understand? Or will they ever see the light? Yeah, and I admit they're wrong. Yes, will they ever see the light that they've been fooled and so forth? Will they be able to see that? And then will the country, as a result of this, maybe, you know, people seeing the light or not or whatever, will the country achieve, like, will we find unity, or is it over? Is it never going to happen again? Okay, it's kind of like the Civil War. I'm not saying there would be a war, but what it means, like this division. Because, for example, of course, in Germany, in the Second World War, a lot of people said, oh, we didn't know this was happening. Okay, and I believe that was a different world. I believe that could even be true part of it. Okay, but then their culture was always a little bit racist. There were linguistic ways that the reasons why Germany allowed the whole Nazi Holocaust, all those whole things to happen. But I think in this case here, and then they're like, they knew that they eventually came out that people at that time didn't know all of this was happening. Okay. So I wonder if it's kind of like on a much smaller scale. Yeah, people saying people in the South are descendants of slave owners. So I just wonder will these people ever unite? Will these people see the light? And then and then the ultimate thing is like, will we ever be able to convert these people? Will these people ever see the light? Okay. Because it's like, I feel like they work so hard to talk about the space, and the space is basically a bunch of kids on Discord and like trolls from the outright, like spamming people constantly. That's their base. It's not like a lot of people as much as, because if you think about it, they are uneducated and they're not going to be in the computer all the time as much as like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's impossible. So, I don't know. Anyway, okay, let me structure this. I want to close my eyes here and think about it, because will the country ever unite? Or, because the question is really, will the country ever move beyond the racist core? Because that's really what they are. They were the reawakening of the racist core that was always there. Okay, will they ever move away from these racist beliefs? And then maybe the young people again will, but a lot of people, especially for example in technology, a lot of the people who are really sort of like Nazi or whatever are in their 20s. Okay, so they're saying that all these trolls, all these men who are like anti-women, anti-diversity or whatever are men in their 20s. So it's not that all young people are good, but it's like, will they ever see what the harm this caused? Okay. All right, so let's see here. The Trump, okay, so the cards tell us about the Trump base. A, who are they? And then B, will they ever see the light? Will they, no, and then B, will they ever see the light? And then C, will the propaganda network that supports their views ever be dismantled? And then D, will they eventually, will the country ever be united again? In the sense that people will see, like, will the country, the discourse, the narrative of the country ever, will the narrative in the country be united again? Okay, will the narrative in this country like be united again, right? In the sense that will these people ever join the future, right? At the progressive times, will they join? Will they move beyond their racist beliefs and join and see the light ever in the future? Oh, you know, I have the question that I think it was missing here. Okay. Will they move beyond racism? I think that's basic, okay? Because really this is the core. Will they ever move beyond racism? Because if you are people who continue with this, ridiculous bullshit are not going, like, they're not going to change, because it's impossible to move and kind of see the world as this unless you abandon racism and prejudice in general, okay? Because without that, and it's not going to happen, okay? All right, so sorry guys, I feel like there's so many, it wasn't just one question, it's just like a lot of little cluster of little questions about the Trump base, but I feel like all these little parts inform the question. Okay. Okay. Donna is saying, I have relatives, they're huge followers, gun buyers, think Hillary is having people killed and Trump is the greatest. So yes, because it's like, you can't get through to them, like because all of this was propaganda. So it's like crazy, you know. Oh my God. Okay, so interesting that this first card here is manipulation. Okay, so this is a card, I call it the card of the American Psycho, but it's basically a lot of psychological manipulation and corruption, theft, and stress also. So I feel like this could say these people are being manipulated, and they're right to their stress, their worries. They're using their worries and being manipulated. They're worried about progress. This is a card of things moving on to something better. So they feel this is a card of progress. So they're worried about progress. So this is stress about progress. Stress about progress. Okay. And this is also, in a way, I think this in some ways is a good complement to the psychological manipulation card, because I see the queens as cards of the pure element. So here wands is fire. So I feel like it's like the fake anger, right? In a way, kind of like passion in the wrong way, in letter. I feel like, right, it could be fake news, actually, right? The writing, letter could be writing, communications, anything in writing. So it could be news. And this is another card of, this is a card of aggression, bullying in a way. And this is also an interesting, an emotional card of emotion, like how people see something, and it's also a card of emotional how do you say it? Like an emotional perception. So it's like angry news affect their emotional perception. This writing affects their perception. And so here is stress or theft, corruption. So it could be stressful fake news, right? Fear, this is also fear of progress. Stress about the progress, stress through these news that show a kind of like an emotional perception of the world, emotional news and emotions about progress in some ways, okay? So that's who they are. That's the reality of how they see the world, okay? So now the question was, will they ever see the light? It's interesting. It's funny. Okay, so let's see what it says here. So this is the card, guys. Oh, okay. This is a card of, like I've said before, when the Six of Cups is upside down, it's a card of the wrong nostalgia. So basically, I think racism fits here very well. It's like a yearning for a lot, like a world that never existed, thinking that the past was so much better when it wasn't, and not wanting to deal with the present. And this is a deal. Now, this is interesting. Okay, so we'll see how it goes. And this is a card of reason, like reason and civil conversation, analytical mind, and a cut. So the deal is cut. Now, this is interesting. The deal, right, is cut. Cutting the deal. I don't necessarily understand. I'll show you the other cards because they make more sense together. And this is like problems with money and a cloud. So I feel like what this is saying is that the economic realities are being concealed here. It's a deal to conceal the economic reality, hardships, realities. And then it's interesting because the last card here is lovers, which means harmony and soulmates, and harmony, really, essentially, love and good people. So what I see here, it's that this is, okay. That's right. Christie's saying our brains are different. Conservatives are driven by fear, and that's true. And this has to do, and I'll talk about this in another reading, probably when I do Cambridge Analytica, about syntax, language, and how that's being used and manipulated. But basically, This is a deal about, this is racism and like backwards ideas, okay? Wrong backwards ideas. And this is a deal to cover up the economic difficulties, okay? A deal using racism to cover up the economic hardships. And to cover up harmony and good people, okay? There's a cover up of harmony and good people. And this is a card of reason cutting. Cutting, the deal cuts reason and cuts analysis and also cuts observing the goodness and the good people, okay? But the question really was, will they ever see the light? And I'm thinking here, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you have the card of reason right underneath here. And I feel like will reason, honestly, to be very honest and very, I feel like it's saying really that it's just explaining the situation further. It's saying that there's a deal, the deal here, cutting the deal. The deal creates a separation, creates a cut from the good people in harmony because the deal obstructs the financial hardships. Okay, so I'm just thinking here if there's any way that this could be, I honestly, I don't see, because you have the clouds. You know what it could be, guys? This is one way to see it. That the clouds are, once they see, this is maybe the answer here. Once they see the economic hardships that are being covered up, then they also see the dog, the good people, they can trust and care about them. But until they are able to cover up, and this, I think, this is the ultimate task, really. And maybe this is the answer. And it's very sad to say this because we wish we didn't have to go that far. But I feel like once they understand the economic reality that they were used, they given, it's almost like, they gave them a deal like, look, if you focus on racism, everything, everything's going to get better. But the racism was a way for them to forget about the money that they're not getting. So maybe finally, once they see that they were taken for a ride, because they feel it in their pocket, that's when they see the good people. Okay, because I feel like, they said the whole thing with the tax cuts and everything, and the cuts to the program, like health programs, for example, like now in Kentucky, all these things are happening. They're trying to like really remove people from healthcare. Okay, so it's just oh, okay, sorry. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so I feel like that's really here, I think, to me anyway, it looks like the issue, okay, is that until they suffer economically, oh my God, Cynthia, yeah, that's okay. So anyway, so that's it. Okay, I feel like that's the part of like how they see the light. And it's like, unfortunately, it's going to take them suffering financially in order for them to like, get real. Okay. All right. So the other question, the other part of this question is, the sub question is the question about their network. Will this network of like Fox, Sinclair, and all the propaganda like Evangelists or whatever, will we ever be able to break them? Okay, will this network either come out as what it is or be broken in some way? Because, it's like, hello. Okay. And I'm like, I almost wish I had asked a different question, but it's like basically a decision. Having a hard time making a decision is key. So this doesn't say much. It's just the first set of cards here. And it's funny, there's a lot of, like they're saying a lot of things. So basically here is the people living away from spirituality, away from their spiritual path and their values. So at heart, they're living away from their spiritual path, which we know that to be true. So they are key, right? This network of people is key to these values that are basically living away from God, like truly, right, in a sense. And this is a card of the Illuminati, people who are powerful behind the scenes, but they're like the wrong group of people. They're corrupt, like, because this is a card of the priest, and if it's upside down, it means that they are ideologically corrupt, right, in the sense of like they have the wrong values, basically. And we have the Lady here, which has been traditionally the Russia card. I wish it said something. Honestly, guys, I wish it said something different. But anyway, so this is Russia connecting with the wrong shady people, which we know that to be true, right? It's not news here. And this is another card of like, it's all these cards about shady people being like living outside of the right value. So this is a card of the con artist. Like this is the card of a person who has the power to turn ideas into reality. But like this is con artist, like a fraudster type. And anchor means for a long time. Okay, now this tells me that the Lady means Russia, right, is anchored with them, through them. So Russia penetrated or was part, like got into the group of like shady people. Like, let's say those like evangelists were like, Sarah Huckabee Sanders' dad, those types of people, right? The fake religious people. Okay, so it's like they got into them, or they've been doing, they have influence for a long time, and they have influenced them through manipulation and con artistry. But I think they're all, it's almost like two peas in a pod, right? They feel that they're kind of like shady. Okay, shady by definition. So here it's saying the key here is that the Russian influence and the values away from God, and it has been going on for a long time. So the Russian influence has been going on for a long time, and there's a connection of values. So they're all connected through values. Okay, so so I feel like it's just a very deeply rooted. That's what it's saying. It doesn't give us the answer yet, I think, because the question was, will these networks be able to resolve, like dissolve, basically, we'll be able to break these networks. Okay, so what will happen to these networks that we've just looked at that connect all of the Trump supporters after the Mueller investigation? Because my hope, and I think all of us, right, want something to happen to Fox. It seems so wrong that like Fox keeps spreading the bullshit. It's like against national security. It's not about free speech. It's like they really are putting the country in danger. Okay, so that's what's really scary about them. Anyway, so let's see here, looking at this network that we have just looked at, what happens to them after the Mueller investigation, once all of this wraps up. So this is, it's interesting because this card is one of, if you look at it, it's a card of a person who behind the scenes, but I think in the context of the question that we are asking, I think this means the religious people, because this person is resting in a church. Okay, you can see that they're in a church because you see the vitriol here. You see it's a religious imagery. So there's talk among the religious people. About the judgment, painful judgment. They talk about painful judgment. Sorry. Like, hello. Yeah. And then you have, this is a card of the, call it the sullen teenager card. Like, I won't do that, no, like whatever. So they're like pissed or something. And the family, the house or the family or something. But, oh, you know what, guys? It's interesting because it's like family values, right? Or like the home, or this is family or where you live, okay? It could also be the White House, but I don't know. We'll see. So they talk to the White House. This is something new, and this is Dreams and Network. The White House Network. The religious people talk about the White House, painful judgment of the White House and their network. Okay. And I feel like this, in a way, is like talk about the house. It could be the White House. The religious people are talking about the White House, having painful conversations. It's like about painful conversations about the White House and network. Painful, aggressive networks, or painful dreams of it. Yeah, I feel like in a way, what this is saying, I wonder, because the Judgment card is a card of reckoning, the day of reckoning. And here, I'll show you here. You know how like all these like kind of crazy religious people are always like, God's gonna come and he's gonna see the sin or whatever, is gonna take you, whatever, stuff like that. So I feel like what this is saying, this could be saying two things: that they could either see it as a painful wake up, because the judgment, if you think about it, is like the wake up call. It's like if you paranoid, that's interesting. Yeah, but I think it's also like the judgment also means the judgment, like what is the symbology of the judgment? I think in a lot of ways it's like, when I think about it anyway, I feel like, oh, you're gonna die, like you're dead, and then you meet talk to the creator or whatever. He's like, look, you think you're good, you fucked up like real bad. Okay, that's kind of like how I see it, sort of like that, like the reality, truth really comes. That's the day when the truth comes, and the truth is painful. Maybe I'm being what do you say, hopeful, because what we want ultimately is for them to see the reality. So if it's saying that judgment comes and it's painful, I wonder if they're able to have some form of self-criticism. Okay, that they are able to how do you say, yeah, so that they're able to like, look, how did we not know about this? Because if it comes out, if it's true what some of the cards have said, that the whole thing about children, and some people have said that that's the last thing for the bays or whatever, at least for the ones who are kind of relatively reasonable. And they're like, oh my God, no, that's kids, like abusing kids, that's too much or whatever. So if it's true that it happens, then this scenario is more likely, where they're like, okay, we woke up, it was painful, and we talked to her about the White House and our painful goals, or it was painful to it was just too difficult to achieve our dreams or whatever. So the dreams of the White House are painful conversations. So that's that. Now, will this base, continuing to talk about the base and the uncovering of the truth after the Mueller investigation, will this base ever move beyond racism and join the present, right? Okay, will America achieve? So I asked here, will they ever move beyond racism? So this is a card of illusions, okay? Castles in the air, illusions, and a bear. This is the bosses, right? Or the leadership. And this is a card I said of prison, or people feeling imprisoned, or like it could also be just in the mind, like a mental prison, and a child. So a new bosses, or could also refer to Trump, the boss child. Maybe his imprisonment, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it comes together. And this is a card of not getting through, trying to get through, not being able to, tree, growth, and health. Okay, so, and this is some sort of like a blonde man and a snake. I don't know that this, we'll see here. The snake child is also the boss. Let's see what's put together. Okay, so will they be able to move beyond racism? So here's the boss that feeds the illusions. The young, it's all, this also can mean child or followers in some ways, like in the sense that, for example, well, actually, no, not followers, but it's like a new, it's like somebody who follows, no, actually, no, I think it's a new, somebody new, like a new bosses or new kid, like new, younger, or Trump. Okay, so the boss child is a snake. The boss child is a snake. Cult, yeah, exactly. Kind of, that's actually a good, it's a good way to put it. Oh, you know what, guys? If actually, now this makes more sense if I look at it. So this is illusion, right? So the boss, the leadership feeds illusion, and people here, the young, are trapped, or they like trapped mentally, right? So it is like a cult. So it's this cult. And tree, another meaning of tree is family tree. Okay, so the boss and his family, meaning I think here, indeed, sort of like followers probably, or right, the family, the boss's family. The growth of tree, of snakes. The difficulty growing. Okay, so this is, looking at this together. So this is, I think, the leadership feeds illusions, and these people are mentally trapped. These people who are mentally trapped through or by snakes, and these snakes like are in the family. And you know what, to me, it's what I think, I believe Diane has said, sort of like a cult, right? So it's like the boss has these people who follow, the kind of like inexperienced, or like not foolish, but sort of like malleable, maybe. Okay, people who are mentally trapped. They are trapped by snakes, and the snakes grow. They are having, this is a card of like not being able to get into underneath here, 7 of Wands upside down. I think this means they're having a hard time growing more members, but ultimately it's just it's like a never-ending cycle of cult-like ideas. Okay, exactly. Luciana said something, trapped through low vibration reptilian energy. So exactly, I feel like it's kind of like this endless circle of people feeding illusions, trapping the weak people, the young, inexperienced, and they're being trapped by this like kind of like shady, two-sided people who come from this family or grow through. So it's like you can't escape this. Okay, so the question was, and I think ultimately it is, and the image I'm getting here, guys, is that, and I feel like this is just coming to me, I feel like it's like we can each be responsible for our spiritual growth, right? And that we can meditate or think of a better world and do all these things while these other people are kind of trapped in their own illusions. You know what I mean? So because I feel like the challenge for me to understand this was like, how could these people not see? How could they not know? And I feel like if you think about life, we all come to, I believe that, like we have a path. And it's not the path of like, oh, I have a goal that I'm going to achieve and this is who I am. Like, not that, but it's like you have a path that means that you have to learn from. And I think if these people are stuck in this cycle of bondage, right? In the sense of like they can never, they kind of like have this, they're stuck in this cult. We can't free them if they're not able to free themselves. It's just a path that they're going through. Okay, so I think this is what it's showing here, is that it's not really, if people want to be trapped, there's not a lot that we could do about it. Okay, this is why I think it's comforting. You know, it's a comfort zone. It's like, oh, it's Obama's fault. Oh, it's not. It's Hillary. Oh, deep state. Da da. Like, if you think like that, the life is just always like someone else's fault. Like, you know what I mean? It's always like some like, it's not easy. Like, oh, 1, 2, 3. Oh no, it's press 1 for Hillary, press 2 for deep state, press 3 for Obama, press 3 for Latino. You know, it's like always someone else's fault. It's like, come on. Okay, so the last part of the question, I think it answers, is that like, how can we either prevent this or try to create something better? Okay. And this is like sudden news. Okay. Like sharp news or clarity. Also clarity. Clarity is a better way to put it. Clarity, and that comes, it's so sad because clarity comes with poverty. And poverty creates an opportunity, it's saying here. And then here it changes, okay, in Fox. And you know, guys, this is funny because this is, I think in some ways this also talks, it could be Fox News, literally, okay, because it's like a Fox News of the Fox News. So it's kind of funny. Okay, so here, I'll show you here, right here next to each other. Okay, so news of a Fox News, basically, okay. And it's changes underneath. So I wonder if it's like, if it could mean that there's changes in Fox News. I hope so. And it's a very good ending because it's like ending and the wheel of fortune and turning upright. So things changing for the better. And here's an interesting part of the secret. And I think it's both secret and education. I'll tell you more about this. So I feel like what it's saying here is interesting, is that there will be news about the secrets, news about Fox News and news about the secrets of Fox News. And the news are going to be an opportunity. And I feel like it's very interesting because somehow, guys, and I don't know why, I guess, you know, those cards, you have to literally just say everything that's on your mind. That's how you learn and how you start trusting yourself more and more. But basically here we have, I was looking at the cards now, and then I got the image of Mueller, and he's talking to people he works with, and you're like, okay, so how are we going to present this information? How are we going to tell the American people what's happening? Okay, this is the image I'm seeing. And I feel like essentially they're going to set, you have the Ace of Swords underneath. So very clearly, very suddenly, sorry, I just got a pop-up saying that's 90 minutes. So anyway, so it's news about Fox News suddenly and with clarity. And it's a news about an opportunity. And the opportunity comes through the hardship, which is the Five of Pentacles underneath. So I feel like what it's saying essentially, right, is that this news is an opportunity, like the hardship that we are experiencing, and that's going to come also as a consequence of the Trump administration, right, that has come already, is an opportunity to educate, opportunity for education, because the book means both secret and education. Okay, so it's an opportunity to educate, but it's also secret. It's both, because in the Lenormand, this is kind of like the kind of beauty of it, and the challenge is that cards have multiple meanings, and the meanings change depending on what cards are next to it. Okay, so it's very possible that it's sort of like an outfit, right? So if you're wearing a red shirt and you wear it with a, I don't know, a yellow pants, it's going to look one way. And if you wear it with black pants, it's going to look another. It's still the same thing, but it changes the context, right? So I feel like, again, the news of Fox News, of the Fox people, and also Fox News, is an opportunity for education. Here, opportunity for education. And it's also about their secrets. The education, it comes from their secrets. So I feel like ultimately, and I said this before in one of the recent readings about how I feel like they're going to announce everything that has happened, and they're almost going to try to like explain everything as much as possible, all the facts, because that's the only way they feel they can win, the good people, you know, how to educate Americans. So yeah, so Diane said, yeah, maybe Hannity gets indicted for obstruction of justice. Okay, so I have to do, guys, another time, maybe next time, an in-depth look at Fox News, like what's happening right now with them, what's up with Hannity, what's up with Murdoch, all of them, sort of like these very long readings I have been doing, guys, because I know some people don't like them. Some people think that it's like, oh, it's too long. But I feel like we need to understand what's going on. Like, right, I feel there's a lot there. It's not just like, oh, because what I've seen before, I saw money. There's payments between them and Russia, right, in one of the sort of shorter readings. But I feel like there's more. Like I want to know what's the morality there, how it's going to change in the future, who's the leadership, what's the leadership like, what's Murdoch like, what's right, Hannity like. So anyway, guys, so that's that. So I feel like, let me try to summarize, look back here, okay, and summarize everything that I've talked about here in this reading about Trump and the networks, Trump's space, the networks that support them, and how they're going to change or not change. Okay, so starting here, we have that the fake news influencing them, and they're afraid of progress. They're made to feel afraid of progress and afraid of change, and they're emotionally manipulated. So then the question about whether they will still see the light, what happens is they are being given this deal where this illusion, all these illusions deflect from their economic harsh realities, and these illusions cut them from reason. They cut them from seeing the good people. So until they feel the pain in their pockets, they will not understand what's going on, okay? And then the other part is the question about what's up with these networks. And it's saying that these networks are key because they connect people through their wrong values, okay? And these networks have been infiltrated by Russia for a long time. And it's all about kind of like being, what's the word? Con artists in a way, right? Con artists and the shady people who are these like sort of the leaders of these networks, okay? So then the question is, what happens once to these networks, once the Mueller investigation is over? There's a reckoning. They talk about the pain they have felt through this judgment, right? That they see this new moment or whatever. And then I asked the question about the racism, like, will they be able to move beyond racism? And it's saying no, because some people are just stuck in in a cult mentality, and there's nothing we can do about it. Okay. And when I asked what can be done to maybe change this, it said that news about Fox News, basically telling the truth about Fox News and coming clean about their role in everything that has happened. So that's the summary, okay, guys, of everything. So that's nice. Woo. So guys, so it's been 95 minutes, guys. So what was I gonna say? Yeah, and Diane had said here, I know intelligent people who are brainwashed by Fox News. And you know what's funny? The image I have in my head is like an addiction. People are like, I need, right? Like they kind of like the blasting of like emotional kind of like blaming and stuff like that. And guys, I was thinking, like I've said before, sometimes I struggle with anger, right? Like, and there was this, when I read the news about the investor who said those horrible things about people like being almost like slaves. I was so angry, and I was like, oh my God, what can I do? And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should do something. I should just talk. I mean, I know, I don't say no harm, but basically, instead of like being angry and saying like, oh, look, what the hell is wrong with you? Oh my God, I'm going to go in there and slapping him. I could point, there's ways that you can point to a more productive outcome. So, you know what I mean? So that's like, what I mean to say is that if you're stuck in the anger phase always, then you never think of a solution. So I feel like the people who love these news networks like that, it's always about blaming somebody else and never about understanding your own reality. So they are addicted to the superficial way of explaining things, so they never leave. So that's what I think it's saying ultimately. And the only way is to really tell the truth, So I feel like that's why, in a way, oh my God, okay, that's why, in a way, I think it's important to exercise the power that we have. Each person has to create our reality, and then think about how important it is for Mueller. And I'm thinking, I'm going back to the image I have of him, where he's like really thinking of a communication strategy to the American public. That's their challenge. How they will communicate all of this to the Americans. They're really thinking very hard about this. And maybe that's another question to ask. How will Mueller communicate all these findings to the American public? Okay, so I feel like that would be an interesting question for another time. Okay, not now, but I think it brought me this exactly done. It reminds me of the old chain letters, passed this on, or something bad. It's funny, my in Brazil, it's magical thinking, basically. Oh, good night, everybody. But basically, just wrapping up here, I think it's really this challenge, our time in general, right? Because we're so inundated with bullshit, right? All this like owning the public networks of communication. That how do we communicate truth in an era of propaganda? Okay, so yeah, so that's that, and then that's the next challenge. So for next time, guys, there's two. So one of you here, let's ask the question about a in-depth Fox News night. We have to really look at this very in-depth, okay? Fox News, and then B, how will Mueller communicate this whole? How will Mueller communicate all of what's going on to the American public? Okay, so those are the news. Yes, the road to Rush Limbaugh. Yeah, we're looking to all these people. That would be, that should be one evening, right? Like one, maybe Tuesday, something like that. Granted that nothing major, so like huge happens, right? Because it's like there's always like some like crazy thing that happens. But let's do that. Because we have 3 days next week, right? So one of them definitely focus on that. If not the first one, then the second one. Okay, I'll look into that, guys. And by the way, just to tell you like a little story. So I posted a little bit before I started here, like an hour, maybe two before I started the broadcast. on YouTube, and I got so many trolls. It means that they're so pissed because it's like true. You know, sometimes when you get trolls, it's great news, because that means you're telling the truth. Because it was like I said, basically, that Trump is the government shutdown will affect Trump. Yeah, will backfire for Trump and Republicans. So no, but it's good because you never see the comments. It's like YouTube is really great about it. So, but I find it interesting because what I feel is like it probably got into some sort of like alt-right network where they say, oh, let's go post shit on this or whatever. But it's interesting that they basically what they want is to control the discourse. This is why they're like so hateful and they put all the trolling and whatever. So so whatever goes against the narrative that they want to sell, they put their little army of trolls to like try to take it down. So it's interesting, you know, just because I feel like this is what we have, like, not always have to do, like, oh, like, it's not that we're against them, we're just telling like it is. But this is how this sort of like attempt to control information, okay, happens in the public realm. You know, it's like by trying to intimidate people and post. And I say, I mean, I don't know if many of you or several of you have any sort of channel, but if you ever have a channel, you should always moderate comments. It makes such a difference. And I think that's why a lot of people like to come to the channel, because they know there's not going to be anybody posting like, oh, look, Hillary, uranium, like whatever, you know, stuff like that. So anyway, guys, so that's that. Okay. So it's it's been 100 minutes, 7:51. So I think it's good. I think we had two very intense readings. They are ultimately very positive. And probably tomorrow I will, or later on tonight, I will go back to the reading and write a little summary, because I feel actually the summary helps to look at what it said. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for everything. Thanks for your companionship, your friendship. I feel like it's kind of weird kind of thing to say, but it's true. I feel like I have to talk to you, like whenever something happens, I'm like, oh my God, I have to do a reading or whatever. So thanks for your support and everything. So we'll see each other soon. Again, the schedule restarts Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7:30 Eastern time. Okay. All right, guys, have a good rest of your Sunday and a happy week, and I'll see you Tuesday. Bye. Bye. Good night.